Well, good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome in from across the continent and beyond for another exciting Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants broadcast. If you're joining us for the first time, like some of you are today, we're all about bringing conservation, adventure, and science into classrooms around the world. And as you may know, everything we do goes to our YouTube channel. So if you want to check out this program like years down the road, you can head there and do just that. There's so much to explore and discover. And I'm so happy of all the days you're joining us today because we are in the midst of our Peak Discovery series. For I think 5 years now, we have partnered with the amazing places in British Columbia and Alberta, some of the most special parks, not just in Canada, but truly around the world. And it's just been such a thrill to have them on. We've got many more coming in the months to come. Before I dive in with our topic du jour, I want to note we have a Kahoot today. So between our talk and our Q&A, if you want to play along with a little 4-question quiz to test your understanding and have some fun, you can pull up that game pin below. We'll get to that in about 25 minutes. Now, I'm particularly thrilled today because I've been to Jasper National Park and I've seen some of the wildlife there. And today we are going to talk about the wildlife of Canada's Rockies. This is like our most natural, splendor-filled area in the country. Like some of the biggest creatures in all of North America, in the world, live in Jasper in the Rocky Mountains. And today we're going to learn about some of those special animals. So I hope you're all as excited as I am. I'm going to zip it because we're here for Sierra. So Sierra, welcome to the broadcast. So nice to have you on, and take us away.
Hello. Yeah, thank you for having me, Jesse. I'm really excited to take you on a virtual journey of the Rocky Mountain wildlife we have here. I'm going to be talking a lot about the large animals we have here in the Rockies. So here is a photo of Jasper National Park, a place known for not just having beautiful towering mountains, but an abundance of wildlife. People come from all across the planet to come and try to spot our wildlife, and it's sometimes easier than it seems. We have lots of wildlife that like to hang around the road. Now, my first question for the group here is: can anyone name the animal that's on the screen?
Not only do I think they can, but we've got a bunch of classes like in Alberta in our YouTube chat. So Sherwood Park, Jasper Elementary. I'm hoping you guys can nail this one. Feel free to put in the chat. Let's see what we get. I knew this one from when I was a boy because I used to get these like wildlife fact file things. And this is one of the first creatures I remember getting. So I'm really curious what we think. Is it an elk we've got? Oh, it's not an elk. That might appear a little bit later. We've got bighorn sheep. Yes, we do. Okay, I think that might be correct. So let's take us away and tell us more.
Perfect. All right, well, we're going to dive into it here. But before I begin, I'd just like to acknowledge that I'm presenting in Jasper National Park, which is located in Treaty 6 and 8, as well as the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Assiniboine-Winnewack, Dinéza, Nehiyawak, Secwepemc, Stoney Nakoda, Mountain Métis, and Métis nations. I would like to acknowledge the past, present, and future generations who continue to guide the way in which we learn from and live on the land. Now, quickly, I know, like Jesse said, there's lots of you from Alberta and from Jasper specifically. But before I dive into wildlife, I want to show you on a map exactly where the Canadian Rockies are. Now, I just want to know who hasn't been to the Rockies before. I know there's lots of you from Alberta, but are there some of you who've never been to the Canadian Rockies in the group?
Yeah, Miss Christie's class are all putting their hands up. They're joining in Ontario today. Caesar is in Nicaragua. He has not been to the Rockies, so we need to bring some people up, I think, in the future.
So a few people who've never been here. Well, the Rockies are a huge mountain range in Western Canada, mostly in Alberta and British Columbia, and they're home to glaciers, forests, rivers, and some incredible wildlife that we're going to learn about today. But another question for the group is, out of all the animals on the screen here, can anyone name the one that lives in the Canadian Rockies? There's only one
Ooh,
on the screen.
only one. We've got a peacock, a polar bear, a koala, a sheepy guy of some kind, a flamingo, and a raccoon. I know I grew up in Toronto and raccoons were everywhere. I think there was like 4 in my garbage bin at one point, but
Yes, Mr.
that's not our guy.
It is the mountain goat.
Mountain goat, yes.
Awesome. Okay, we'll be talking a little bit about the mountain goat a little bit later on. Now, right before we dive into the animals, I want to ask, why do we think it's important for places like national parks to protect wildlife? Why do we think it's so important to protect wildlife?
You know what? Miss Christie's class, I can come to you guys live if you flick on your mic and our grade 3s. Why should we protect wildlife? What do we think? If you want to unmute, you can share in the chat too. What do we think? Oh,
Okay. Juliet, do you want to share your answer?
hey, Julia.
Oh, one of our students said it's important because they help to make our food like the bees do.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so animals help the environment, help people. We've got just for their own sake coming in another chat, so that's fantastic. We've got because they're wonderful, because they're beautiful. So animals are great. They help us out. They help each other out. All good answers, guys. I love it.
Yeah, exactly. So all the animals we're going to talk about today have an important job in nature. Some eat plants and then they spread the seeds. Some help keep the forest healthy by eating the twigs and all the bushes and whatnot. And some provide food for other animals. So when we protect wildlife, we're also protecting the land that they live on and even the air we breathe. So by protecting wildlife, we're also protecting nature for us as well. So diving into Rocky Mountain animals, this is one of our most famous residents here in Jasper and the Rockies. Can anyone name this animal? Miss Christie, you guys had maybe talked about this.
Yeah, I was going to say, we've had a little hint for this before. Yes, it is an elk. It's caribou moose.
Good guesses, but this is actually an elk. This is an elk. Now from the middle guy, that is a bull elk, a male elk. And then on the side here, we have a female elk with a little calf as well. So the male elks, they grow big antlers, and the females, they do not grow antlers. During the fall, you might hear the loud bugling calls of the male elks as they compete for mates. It sounds a little bit like a mixture between a scream and a whistle. And I'm going to play it for you, and you just have a listen to the sounds that come out of these beautiful bull elks here.
Great. Beautiful.
Yeah, so for my Jasper residents, you've probably heard that plenty of times in the fall. Now that is nature's version of a love song. And during the rutting season, the males are all worked up and they can become a little bit aggressive when they make those sounds. And sometimes if you stand between them and their potential mates, they will charge at you. So here is a photo of one of our parks trucks here that got a little too close to an elk during that time, and they actually got holes in the truck from the antlers. So you definitely don't want to get too close to an elk during that rutting season. And there's a photo on the side here of the elks fighting using their antlers with each other. So it's pretty incredible to witness in the Rockies. That's a scene you often see in the fall time. So moving on to the deer in the park. Now we have 2 types of deer here. We have the mule deer and the white-tailed deer. And at first they look pretty similar, but there are a few ways to tell the difference. So the mule deers have noticeably big ears, and the white-tails, like the name suggests, have a big white tail on them. So that's the best way to tell the difference between the 2 types of deer. Next up is the second largest mammal in North America. So I want to see if you guys can guess which animal this is. It's the second largest animal in North America.
Feel free to share in the YouTube chat too. We'd love to hear from you. I know you're a little bit delayed. I will say I live in Newfoundland and we have more of these per capita than any place in the world. See it? Wow, all on YouTube. Moose, moose, moose. Yes, moose galore. You guys nailed it.
Yes, it's correct. It's the mighty moose. And these animals are huge. A male moose can weigh up to 450 kilograms or 1,000 pounds. Now here's a photo of a fully grown human. So think of your dad or your grandpa versus a moose. Now who do we think would win in a fight?
It's not close. Run
Not
away if you have a
close,
moose
yeah.
surgery. Yeah.
Definitely the moose. I would not want to get in a fight with a moose, that's for sure. But moose are really interesting creatures who, unlike deer and elk, they prefer to live in marshy, wet areas. And this is because their main diet in the summer months is aquatic plants and algae. And because of this, moose are excellent swimmers. They can dive up to 6 meters and hold their breath for 1 minute. So here are just some photos of moose enjoying the marshy and lake areas that we have around Jasper National Park. But here's something you don't see very often is a moose licking a vehicle. Now, fun fact about moose, they love salt. So much that they will approach your vehicle in the wintertime to lick the salt that accumulates on the roads and onto your car. And this has become a bit of a problem in Jasper because the moose, as I said, are huge animals and they can become a little bit aggressive towards people. So if you ever visit Jasper or the Rockies in the wintertime, you might run into these unique signs asking you to not let moose lick your car to avoid any unwanted animal interactions. So that's a funny sight that you might see if you visit Jasper in the wintertime. Next up, we have the caribou, and these are a special member of the deer family because both the male and the female caribou grow antlers. They're the only member of the deer family that happens to. And these species like to live in high mountain environments, so they have extra thick fur to keep them warm. And because they live in these high altitude areas, they're also well adapted to traveling in deep snow. They have extra big hooves that act like caribou snowshoes. Just like how we use snowshoes to float on snow in the wintertime, caribous have those adapted and built into them. So that's pretty incredible. Now for one of our most loved animals here in the Rockies, the bears. Now here in Jasper and in the Rockies, we have 2 types of bears. Can anyone name those 2 types? Anyone know the names of the 2 types of bears we have here in the Rockies?
This has been such an active audience. You guys are just killing it today. I love our Alberta classes in on this, our Ontario class, everyone, wherever you're joining from, you're just doing such a great job, and I love it. I've seen one of these bears in the wild, but not the other. Grizzly and brown bears. Ooh, that's interesting.
Yeah,
maybe
close.
Black and grizzly are our options coming in on YouTube. So maybe one of the 2 is correct. Maybe one of the 2 is the same. Yeah,
exactly. So we have black bears and we have grizzly bears. So first here is our grizzly bear. Now, grizzly bears are an apex predator. They're top of the food chain here in the Rockies. And the best way to tell the difference between the bears is grizzly bears have a big shoulder hump. Do you see that hump behind their shoulders there? That's a huge hump of muscle. And they use this for digging and running for food. And moving on to our black bears, they don't have that big shoulder hump. But also black bears we say that they're incorrectly named because black bears can be all sorts of colors, even blonde. Down in Banff, they used to have a blonde black bear, which would often spook people because we don't have polar bears down in the Rockies. So black bears can be all sorts of colors, not just black. Now, these bears do have their differences. Like I said, grizzly bears are usually quite bigger and they have that big muscle hump. They also have longer claws because they spend a lot of their time digging for food. And black bears have short, smaller claws, which makes them excellent climbers so that they can climb up trees to escape potentially predators like cougars or bigger grizzly bears that might try to attack them. So black bears are our climbers of the bear families. So you know when you walk past a bakery and your nose can smell yummy cinnamon buns cooking for like 2 blocks away? Well, bears can smell food for up to 20 kilometers or 12 miles away. They have an extra strong sense of smell because they need to eat a lot of food to bulk up for the winter. Both bears can eat up to 20,000 calories a day. Now, us humans, we eat maybe 2,000 calories a day. So that's a crazy amount of food, especially when you consider what's on a bear's dinner plate. Does anything on this screen here look appetizing to anyone? Maybe berries? I would maybe eat the berries.
I eat the berries. Maybe not eating the chipmunk. I'll leave them alone. My dog likes to eat the chipmunk, and maybe the bear does too. But I think they might all be something a bear wants to eat.
Yeah, for sure. Everything on the screen here is what a bear eats most days. So we have flowers, the roots of flowers, insects, chipmunks, or any kind of meat they can find, mushrooms, and of course, a bear's favorite food, berries. But they have to eat a lot of this stuff to reach the amount of calories that they need to eat every day. Now, another question for the group here. How many berries do we think a bear can eat in one day?
Okay, we're going to give this lots of time. I really want to see what our audience answers to this. I would guess, and I've not seen the answer to this in advance, I would guess 10,000. I'm going to go really big. And I'm really curious. Yeah, let's see what we got from our audience. Give it a second, guys. 3,000's coming in. Okay, a little lower than me. I just think a bear is a big animal and bears are really smart. Eat over 1,000. Wow, am I the biggest? That never happens. I'm never the most. That's super weird. Okay, 3,000, 1,000, 10,000, 5,000. Okay, Sierra, I'm the most. Am I right?
Well, the answer is actually an astounding 200,000 berries per day. So how they found this out is a scientist followed around one bear all day, and it collected the bear scat, and they counted all the seeds in the scat, and it was about 200,000. And the study was only ever done once, because that's a lot of work to count all the berries that a bear eats in a day. But they eat so many berries that this is what their scat looks like. Often looks like someone just chucked a smoothie on the ground. So bears can eat a lot of berries in a day. Way more than you'd think. All right, now I'm going to introduce you to two animals in the Canadian Rockies who grow horns. Now, does anyone know the difference between horns and antlers? We just talked a lot about antlered animals, but what's the difference?
This is something that I genuinely learned when I was and I'm a biologist by background. I learned this after the age of most of our students today. So I'm really curious if anybody knows. Got some grade 3s, 4s, 5s today. Let's see. Horns versus antlers. Does anyone want to chime in? Shapes. So Miss Grimm's class, so they look different. That's a good guess.
For sure.
Like that. Yeah, size. So maybe some are bigger. And then our class in Jasper, antlers fall off. I think they might have they might be onto something there, Sierra.
Yeah, for sure. Antlers do fall off. So that's one main difference is animals who grow horns keep their horns their whole life, and antlers grow and fall off every year, and they get bigger every year as well. Another key difference is what they're made out of. Now, antlers are made out of bone, and horns are a mixture of bone and keratin. Now, keratin is the same thing that our fingernails are made out of, and it's extra strong, which makes their horns extra tough. So that's the two main differences is, yes, they fall off every year. Antlers, horns, they keep their whole life. And then horns are made with bone and keratin, which makes them extra strong, just like our fingernails there. So the first animal I'm going to talk about is our bighorn sheep that we saw on the front screen there. Now, like I said, horned animals keep their horns all their life, but males and females have horns. But as you can see in this photo, the males are much larger and rounded. And this is because they use their horns to fight other males for potential mates. And this is why bighorn sheep are often called rams, because they ram their heads together, like this photo here, to fight for potential mates during their rutting season. Now, the larger the horns, the more powerful a male bighorn sheep will be. Fun fact about bighorn sheep is they will run at each other at about 50 kilometers an hour. So the total impact is sometimes 100 kilometers an hour when they're banging those horns and their heads together. So bighorn sheep have extra strong necks that make it so that they can fight each other. And then our final animal of the day also happens to be the best climbers in the park, the mountain goats. These animals prefer high, rocky, alpine environments to help them hide from predators and forage on alpine vegetation. And they have specially designed hooves that spread open to help cling to rocks and cliffs. Now, mountain goats are some of the fastest learning animals in the Rockies because after only one day a baby mountain goat is scrambling around the rocks with their mother, and they get the hang of it really quickly, which is pretty incredible. Only one day and you're scrambling up the sides of cliffs. I can't imagine doing that after only being alive for one day. Now, we introduced you to a lot of cool wildlife today, and these animals are often spotted just along the sides of the roads in the mountain parks here in Jasper and Banff. And while super neat to see them, we also have to remember that they are wild animals and that we are guests in their home. And we need to give animals space. Otherwise, animals might get a bit aggressive. And by giving animals space, we help keep the wild in wildlife. So we definitely don't want to be as close as this guy here in the photo because we saw what happened to that parks truck. We don't want to get an antler stabbed in us for sure. All right, so thank you for joining me to learn about the local wildlife here in the Rocky Mountains. I hope you learned something about the wildlife here and I have an opportunity to come see some of these animals in person one day. Now, my final question for you is, what was your favorite animal that we learned about? Out of all the animals on the screen here, what was your favorite?
I'm going to say for myself, the bighorn sheep pretty rocks. Like, I mean, they're all cool. We got a lot of moose. I love bears. I love the deer family. But like, look at the horns in that thing. Like, it's so ridiculous. Favorite animals, the bear coming in the chat. We love the bears. Everybody loves bears. I think we should just do a bunch of bear programs in the future, Sierra, and make it happen. But great answers, guys. Yeah, our follow-up in January. Come on back. This is so fun. Thank you so much for all this. If this is our last thing, we can dive in with our Kahoot and start in with a big, long Q&A if that sounds good.
Yeah, for sure.
Sweet. Well, to that end, first of all, a big thank you to you. If you want to come out of screen share so you can see us again, have a bit of a conversation, you're welcome to. We've already got, I think, 42 people in the Kahoot, but we're going to bring this up in just a second. And for those who are new to Kahoot, the faster you answer, the more points you get, and what you win is Sierra and I's everlasting respect. So I'm going to begin this. And Sierra, if you want to help us out with any hints along the way, you're welcome to chime in as we go along. Okay. And then we're going to have Miss Christie's class for some live questions. YouTube, you guys can start pouring them in the chat. We'd love to hear from you. But let's get underway and do this thing. Here we go. All right. I need an actual drum. I say drum roll, please, enough that I should just get one for myself. Be better. Out of all the animals we learned about today, which is the best swimmer? Is it the elk, the moose, the black bear, or the mountain goat? A hint might be we did have a picture of this in the water in the broadcast. Who was paying attention to what was in the water? Let's see. Get those answers in. No worries if you just yell it out in your class. Well, moose is our correct answer. Most people got that right, Sierra. Way to go, guys. Thanks. The first time I ever saw a moose in the national park I live in now, it was in the water. Like, it was swimming along. It was really nice to see. It's such a huge animal to swim, but
yeah, every single time I've seen a moose, it's been in the water. It's incredible. Really? Yeah.
That's so funny. All right. Victorious Emu takes our lead over Adventurous Bunny. True or false? Black bears are always black. Let's see. Is this true or false? We had pictures of this. We had a bunch of options there. What do we think? I will say, too, that I did a program on a special kind of black bear with a special mutation when I was in school that made them not black. So maybe that's our hint du jour. All right. Most of you got this right. It is false. Yes. So, Sierra, what colors did they come in? We've got a whole bunch.
They can come in all sorts of colors. We have lots of bears in the park that we call cinnamon bears because they're cinnamon in color. They come in blonde. They also come looking like grizzly bears as well, with the light fur, gray, dark brown.
We did well, you talked about the hump being a big difference, and I remember we actually did a bear rap once where it was like people in bear costumes rapping. It is on our YouTube channel, and it was highlighting the differences that you can actually tell in case color is not your guide. So I love that we got that question. And Victoria's Emu keeps our lead going into question 3. There's 2 more coming. Which animal do the male and females grow antlers? So one of our creatures, they both grow antlers. Is it the mule deer, the bighorn sheep, the elk, or the caribou?
This is a tough one.
This is a tough one. And again, no problem if you don't get them all right, guys. Like, the point is to just reinforce some of our big things here, learn together. 4 more seconds left, 55 answers in. Ooh, a lot of you thought elk. The answer is caribou. So elk, it's only the males that grow the antlers. The females don't, correct?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yes.
caribou are the only ones that both the males and the females grow antlers.
Let's see if that changes our leaderboard. It does. Fabulous Lizard takes our lead, throwing a wrench in the works. All right. Of all the animals we learned about today, which is the best climber? We talked about this at the end. Is it the bighorn sheep, the moose, the grizzly bear, or hint, hint, nudge, nudge, the mountain goat? It is quite amazing to witness a creature like a mountain goat or a mountain goat on the edge of a big cliff. Like I've seen chamois in Europe, which are similar, and like these little tiny hooves on the edge of absolutely sheer cliffs. Like people could never do it without special gear. Incredible to witness. All right. Third place is Y Scorpion. Second place is Gleamy Raccoon. And first, for all the marbles, and do let us know if you are these people in the chat. Number one is Fabulous Lizard. Way to go. Oh my gosh, Miss Christie's class. You guys are Fabulous Lizard. Way to go. Cool. Yes, you win. Well, that's a perfect segue. Way to go. Perfect segue. If you've got a question for us, you get to be our first group, unless you're too excited about winning, in which case we can come back in a second.
We do have a question. Juliet, do you want to come up and ask?
Hey, Julia.
So come stand over here.
Do moose eat meat?
Ooh.
Moose do not eat meat. No, they are herbivores. So they eat algae and aquatic plants in the summertime. And in the wintertime, they'll eat twigs and leaves and bark and pretty much anything they can find. But they don't eat meat. That's a good question.
They are a straight up herbivore. The thing that's weirdest to me about moose, because we've got lots of time in this Q&A, is like seeing a Newfoundland forest where I live and thinking that moose can get through that. Like it's such a huge animal to get through such dense woods. It's something that I've never, like, you can't find them in there because it's too thick for people to go really, but they can get through, and that's really, really odd to me. So I love that we got a moose question to begin. All right. Caesar wants to know, why are they even called black bears if we know they can be different colors?
That's a really good question.
Most are black. Like I've never seen one that isn't black. I'm not in Jasper. I've seen many black bears in many provinces across Canada, and the vast majority of them do look like that. So that
probably is why most black bears are black in non-Rocky Mountains. But a lot of our black bears here are brown in color. But I think that the reason is, because most black bears around the world are black. So they just simply named it that. And then maybe a few years after they realized, oh, not all black bears are black, but yeah.
There's a long, as a person, again, biologist by background, there's a long tradition of people naming animals and plants and then going, rats, we shouldn't have called it that a little bit later. Once the name is in, it's pretty much stuck. So
yeah,
I love
that's a really good question, though, because if they're not all black, why would we call them that? But we just need to know that they can come in variations.
Scientists trying to confuse you. This is our job. All right, Brianna wants to know in Mrs. Grimm's class, how do bears kill a moose, or do they kill a moose in any fashion?
They would. So they wouldn't kill a grown moose unless it was injured. Because that's an easier prey, and it would just be grizzly bears that would be doing that. But bears will attack baby moose or any of the animals we learned about today, baby bighorn sheep or baby caribou, baby elk, and baby moose, just because they're smaller and they're an easier prey. But typically here in the Rockies, our animals wouldn't attack big moose or any big ungulate just because they're probably not going to win that fight.
No, this is a thing that plays out not just in North America, but pretty much everywhere. When big herbivores get to be at peak size, they're unstoppable for even the biggest predator. Like nothing goes for an adult elephant, nothing goes for an adult moose. Like it's simply, you're going to lose as the predator. It's going to go poorly for you if you're to attack something that big. You saw how big they were compared to a person. So
yeah,
I love this question.
The bears would use so much energy to try to attack that animal. They'd need to go eat 400,000 berries.
That's our next broadcast. How many do they eat after they've had a failed hunt? So many questions in the chat. I love this. Okay, Elena wants to know a great question, and then we're going to head back to Miss Christie's in a second. Why do mountain goats have horns? The little tiny guys. What's the deal? Do we know?
For sure. So they have horns for a couple of reasons. The biggest one is protection. They'll protect themselves against predators. And like I said, the mountain goats live in high, rocky, alpine environments. So they'll actually use their horns to dig through the snow to find plants in the wintertime to eat. So the two reasons are to dig through the snow to find food to eat and for protection against any sort of predators, cougars, potentially grizzly bears that are trying to attack them.
Yep, like it looks small compared to something like a bighorn sheep, but those are sharp little things. Like you wouldn't want to be hit by one, especially by an animal moving at speed. I've never seen it for the digging in the snow. We've seen it with bison before in some of our other broadcasts. So I really like that that's part of it. How neat.
Yeah.
All right, Miss Christie's class, we're heading back live to you. Come on in, grade 3s, and take us away. Hey.
All right, what's your question?
Are mountain goats omnivores?
Ooh.
They are, yes. So they eat plants just like moose as well.
Do they eat animals though? So omnivores, are they eating?
Oh.
Are they?
No, sorry, they don't eat animals. Yeah, they're herbivores.
I think almost everything we talked about, like bears are omnivores. Everything else we talked about is a strict herbivore. Like they only.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Cool. All right. That preempts some questions in the future. We're going to come back to you guys in a minute, but you've got so much time. I love this. All right. Jesus wants to know if black bears can run out of breath while climbing a tree.
I would say no. No, they're pretty big animals with a lot of energy, and so they could definitely run out of breath running. But climbing a tree, they're pretty quick at it. They'll just climb right up to the top of the tree, and then they'll sit there and they'll protect themselves from whatever the reason that they ran up the tree is. Yeah, so no.
I love when I get questions like that. Thank you so much, Jesus. That's awesome. All right, Ramon wants to know, how long do black bears hibernate and how long do brown bears hibernate? Is it the same amount of time? Or are they different, or anything you can share on hibernation?
For sure. So one fact about bears and hibernation is they don't actually truly hibernate. They go through a process called torpor. And so that means that their heart rate slows, but they're not actually truly hibernating. And so the bears, both bears in the Rockies, will go through this process. And the length is about 6 months. So they'll go into their dens once it starts to get cold. So kind of about this time of year is when they're going to start to go into their dens. It's just it's just starting to get into those double-digit negative numbers. So it's a little bit too cold for the bears to survive. And so they're going into that hibernate or that torpor phase. And they'll hibernate for about 6 months until the springtime. And actually, both bears will wake up at about February, March, and they'll give birth to their cubs if they are pregnant before they go into their torpor stage. And then they will continue to go through their torpor stage. And they will come out in the spring time. So the females will wake up first, and that's typically because they need to find more food. They kind of went through all their calories, and then the males will come out second, as long as the calories in them will last. Yeah. So it's about 6 months for both approximately. And it all depends on the weather too. If we have a really late spring, the bears are going to be coming out of their den later. But if we have an early spring, they're going to come out earlier. So it all has to do with weather as well.
I was going to say, we've actually done some climate change presentations where this is a great example of an animal's habits being affected by how the weather's changing on a year-by-year basis. So I love that we got this query. Thanks, guys. All right, this one I'm not going to put to you straight. You can think about this. You might have an answer straight off the bat, but there was just a question about if you have a personal favorite fun fact about bears. So if you happen to have something that's readily there, great, but no worries, and you can ponder during the rest of the broadcast and answer that at any time. Cool. As you're thinking about that, Elena wants to know, how many baby animals do you see? Is there how do you even track births in the park?
So for baby animals, we see lots of baby elk in the springtime. So in late June, we'll see lots of baby elk. The elk like to live right near town. And so we see lots of baby elk around. Moose, not so much. Moose are a little bit more They hide in the forest a bit more. We don't see them as often, but you will sometimes see baby moose. Baby bears, for sure. We see baby bears a lot in the springtime when they come down close to town to get food. Each bear typically gives birth to 2 to 3 cubs, sometimes only 1 as well. But yeah, it's pretty cute to see those babies. But the most abundant time that you'll see the baby animals is in the springtime, once they're coming out or being born as well, or coming out of their torpor stage. And then as you move into the summer, you won't see those babies as much. And the baby elks grow up really quickly. By the end of the fall, you're like, oh, that looks like a teenager elk.
Yeah. I'm so glad that you mentioned the fact that a lot of animals, when they're born, pretty much from birth, have to be able to run and do things and basically be a mini adult. People are really weird in that way. Like, we're a very strange animal in that we have such a long period of time where we're helpless and our parents need to take such care of us when we're babies. A lot of animals are like born and running within about 4 to 5 minutes of being born, which is crazy, because if they didn't do that, things like bears would come and potentially eat them. So it's really important for a lot of animals that they're adept from the get-go. It's a great question, guys. All right, Miss Christie, we're coming back to you. We're going to take 2 more after that, and then time flies and you're having fun, so we are going to wrap up after 3 more questions. Come on back in and take us away, grade 3s. Hey.
Okay, we have one more question about bears. Go ahead.
How long do bears breathe underwater?
So how long do they hold their breath underwater?
Bears.
Yeah. No pressure.
That is a good question. So I'm not a bear expert myself, but my colleague right here, Erica, is a bear expert. So I'm going to bring her over here to see if she knows the answer to this.
So bears are really, really good swimmers. They tend to keep their head above water. If they are going to swim underneath, it'll just be for a couple of seconds at a time. So you might see kind of the same as what you and me can do, maybe up to 10, 15 seconds, but that's kind of about it. They're really, really good swimmers kind of above ground, and they're super fast at a doggy paddle.
Yeah.
Okay. Not as good as moose.
No, moose are, in the park, moose are the best.
So you answered our past question. You came in as a guest expert. We've got some great stuff. And I want to stress, too, one thing we featured that is not an animal that's in Jasper, but polar bears are excellent swimmers. So if you're keen on bear swimmers, their name literally means sea bear because they go out and swim so far. So I love that question. Thanks, guys. You guys rock. All right. Adavea wants to know if a moose has ever hurt a bear. So back to our question about moose-bear showdown. What has that happened? Is it something you guys have ever witnessed, or do you know that it happens?
I've never witnessed a moose and a bear interact. It definitely does happen. They probably see each other in the woods and have a little 2-second stare, and the grizzly bear is probably like, oh, well, you're too big. And they probably move on from there. Like I said, grizzly bears will attack baby moose. And so sometimes grizzly bears might kind of keep their eye on a family of moose to see if there's any chance that the mama leaves the baby alone for a second. But in an area in Jasper that called Moline, so for my Jasperites and people in Alberta, you might have heard of Moline Lake. We have tons of moose down there, and there's sometimes some showdowns between grizzly bears and moose. So it's typically smaller moose, not those big ones with the big antlers. They'll often, or not often, but they'll sometimes be grizzly bears and moose that do chase each other. It's a little bit more common with the elk near town that will have grizzly bears chasing herds of elk, trying to get those baby calves, but it's a bit more rare with moose, but it does happen.
I'm going to try and find one of my favorite BBC series ever has a grizzly bear chasing like a large group of animals. I think it might be elk. I'm going to try and find the clip as it's one of the coolest things that they've ever caught on film in Canada. It's really, really neat. Sierra, time flies and you're having fun. This has been such a fantastic broadcast. Such great questions for so long, everybody. Is there any final message you want to leave our groups with today about the amazing work that you do in Jasper, about your wildlife, anything before we say farewell?
For sure. Well, I do have an answer to my favorite bear fact question.
Yes.
So my favorite fact about bears is that when they give birth to their cubs, so black bears will hang out with their cubs for 2 summer seasons. And so they'll stay with their cubs. They'll teach them everything they know about surviving in the wilderness, and then they set them free. Grizzly bears, because they are the bigger predator in the park, they'll keep their cubs for 3 years. 3 to 4 years, typically just 3. But I love that fact that the mom really takes her time to teach the babies and the cubs everything that they know about surviving in the wilderness. And then they say, all right, you're on your own. You're on your own. There you go. So that's kind of my favorite fact about bears in the Rockies here.
I love it. Thank you so much. And again, folks, we are going to have many more in the Peak Discovery series. I can't encourage you, check out the website enough. This will be on YouTube, so if you want to share with family and friends in all our classes, we're going to pass along a bunch of resources to keep the learning going. And if you can fill out our quick survey, we'd love you to let us know how we did, how we can make it even better for next time. But Sierra, what we do to wrap up every broadcast, I'm going to bring in Miss Christie's class. If you're on YouTube and you want to scream and yell too, please do. We'd love to hear from you. But for now, come on in, guys. Have a wonderful day. Thank you so much, Miss Christie.
Say bye.
Bye.
Everybody.